Well, hello, good morning, and welcome. My name is Jenny Hodge, and I'm the founder of Campus Upstart. I founded Campus Upstart because I'm passionate about making sure that we all have a chance to build skills for the future of work. Well, the future is here. So, yes, I want us all to have a chance to have the opportunity to learn and how to build skills for what we need for today's workplace. Our mission is to empower our community by creating engaging learning spaces, just like this one, where you get hands on with the tools that are changing just about everything from how we work, how we do life. AI is changing just about everything that we do and say, even. Well, that brings us to today's workshop. Work smarter with AI tools. AI is no longer a futuristic concept. Why? Because it holds immense power to transform our everyday work. So, our goal here is to show you how to harness that power to significantly boost your efficiency in your everyday workflow. So, this workshop will guide you through leveraging AI with every single stage of the research process. You'll learn how to brainstorm topics, validate sources, which is very important, and synthesize information. We'll also cover how to use these tools to draft content and create engaging presentations and marketing materials using various AI applications. So, with that being said, the aim is for you to lead with the clear, actionable strategies to integrate these powerful tools in your work and everyday life too. So, without further ado, I'm so excited to explore this all with you. Let's get it started, and handing this over to Stefan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this second workshop of this workshop series. My name is Stefan. I work for the AI Lab at Biola, and yeah, I basically do anything AI. So everything that Jenny just said was absolutely correct. It is even going over the heads of people that are working with AI and on AI every single day, which makes it just incredible. But today we're going to talk about research and how you can use it in order to streamline your research processes and just make everything go a lot faster. So yeah, we're going to talk. First step is going to be that we are talking about what traditional research looked like, only a minute. Then we compare it to AI research, how it looks like. And then the major part is going to be actually doing live researching. So I show you how we can pick a project, how we can do idea generation and ideation, how we can actually research that topic. And then we're also going to talk about how can you build a PowerPoint presentation, how can you build articles, and how can you build visuals around that. And all of this in about 30 to 45 minutes. And then we're going to have a Q&A time to close everything up. And yeah, let's give you guys the opportunity to ask any questions. So everyone knows about traditional research. Usually, in my experience, especially compared to AI, it's pretty slow, it's pretty unorganized, and it's pretty overwhelming. The main issue that I have with research was always that it's a high barrier of entry. So before I even know what to research, before I figured out the entire outline, that already took me a lot of time just to get started, right? So now with AI, we can literally just flip that around and we have a super, super low barrier of entry. So it's low because it's slow because it's hard to find resources. We have to manually read all of them and summarize even major chunks that aren't even as interesting for us or that we could easily just skip, but you don't know what you can skip and what you can skip unless you read it. And then you can't really ask any follow-up questions, right? What if I don't understand something? Well, then I have to research that topic within the research I'm doing. With AI, I can just ask the question and then I understand it. So we also don't really have a clear outline. We have to switch between multiple tools. So all of this is just getting complicated at some point. Well, with AI, we have major changes. So first of all, it's really fast. The barrier of entry to just start your research is super low because you just have to throw in your question, your thought basically, into an AI engine and it's getting you started. It can build you an outline, it can give you sources, it can summarize sources, everything from scratch and very, very quickly. You can ask follow-up questions. It's very organized. So in this case, you're going to see that we can only use one chat engine. In this case, it's going to be ChatGPT, but Perplexity is also a really good option. We will look into both, but ChatGPT gives you the major part. And then another one that's kind of like a bonus is going to be a place where you can synthesize and store all of the documents and all of the research that you're getting, and as well as links and all of that. and then you can ask questions about it. So, but then we also can streamline it. We can easily create outlines. I already said that. All right, so let's jump into the AI showcase. Before we do that, I would like to ask the first question to you guys because we're interested in how you're currently doing research, and then we want to know if you actually adjusted that. So the first poll question is if you are using, like, what are you currently using for AI? Is it Google? Is it already AI tools? Are you usually deferring to Wikipedia, or is it some type of academic database?
So there we have it.
All right.
ChatGPT takes the win, or other AI tools.
Could you tell the percentages? I don't see it for some reason.
Oh, so we have well, everyone answered ChatGPT or other AI tools.
Okay, that's great.
Yep. Okay, so we didn't like the way that polling glitch went, right? So we didn't like how it distorted our polling results. And as many of you reported in the chat, you did select other answers, yet it did not show up in the polling results. So we decided to ask ChatGPT and Google Gemini the same question, and they both came up with similar but slightly different responses, as you can see. And then we decided, okay, let's ask them to rank this from the most common usage to the least common usage. And as you could see, as they're pulling up their responses to that, Gemini had mentioned that they ranked Google/Wikipedia as number one, and then academic based databases, YouTube podcasts, and then Google Gemini/ChatGPT. Well, here's what ChatGPT is pulling up as their ranking. They're ranking Google search, Google Gemini as number one, most commonly used, right, for research. And then two, YouTube and podcasts, three, ChatGPT, and four, Wikipedia, and five, academic databases. So this is, mind you, the question is, what is their common usage, right? So they're ranking it from the general public common use, from most common usage to least common usage. So do you agree with ChatGPT and or Gemini or neither? Let us know. Would love to know what you guys think. And if you would like to, please scan the QR code and participate in the polling because we'd like to know as well. Okay.
All right,
Mhm.
so let's jump into that then. So first of all, we need to find a topic, right? So we can even say, hey, I'm working in this and this industry. So if you don't have a research topic yet, then you probably don't want to do any research, but you usually have a research topic. So for this case, I just chose the research topic of AI and copyright because all of you guys, when you generate AI generated content, you probably want to know, can I copyright that? Is it actually legal for me to post that? What if AI generates an entire article? Can I monetize that? What about videos? All of this. So we're going to do research on AI and copyright. So how would I do that? Well, first of all, you could just ask the question, tell me everything you know about AI and copyright. Well, that would work, but the issue is that this will only search the database ChatGPT was trained on. If you want to get recent results, the most recent results, then you should always say, search the web. I will show you the difference. So if I just submit this, then it's not going to search the web. It's not going to give, like, pull on any information. It just gives us what it already knows. That might not be up to date though. So as you can see, we have non-up-to-date content here, 2022 and 2023. If I do the same prompt again, but I say search the web, then you will see that it's actually searching the web and it's giving us more recent data. So here's the tool call, and then it gives us the most recent here. So here's an update from January 2029. So this is how you can make sure that you get the most recent information. Okay, so what can we do now? Let's say we are interested in this very part. So we should always check the source. So let's check the source. And then we want to see if this, what is claimed here in this very part, that the report was actually made in January 2029 and that it clarifies. So we want to see if this is actually correct or not. So we want to see if only human created content is actually regarded into copyright. So now what we can do is we can just copy this part and we can say, give me the exact quote in the source that proves this point. And then we just copy paste it in here. And now we have the source pulled up here right now, and it was given us right after it. So it was right after the response. So here's just, you can just click on it and then the source comes. And now we are having the quote. So what we can do with this is we can just copy paste it and now we can search for it. And now we have proof that it's actually inside of the quote and of the source. If you do that with really sensitive information or really important information, then you can always make sure if this is actually like true or not. So in this case, we have a valid source because we have copyright.gov, so it's an official government website. So there's no real issue on is this a credible source or not. However, let's look for some other sources. So for example, if we have Rand Corporation, well, do we know if this is a good source or not? Not really. So what we can do now is we can just copy this link. And now we can go back into ChatGPT and say, I got a source from this website, search the web, and let me know if it is credible. And then we just give it the link. And now it's going to do research if it's actually a credible organization or not. And we learn more about where that very fact is coming from. So this is more like academic, professional research. Later on, we're also going to do more personal research, like booking flights and hotels and more like a time saving. All right, what if you want to bring this into a whole new dimension? Now we are doing all of the research very manually, but what you can also do is you can use deep research. So for deep research, I would always go to Claude AI because this is by far the best deep research tool that is out there as of now. ChatGPT has the same function if you just click on deep research right here, but it's not that comprehensive. Claude is the most comprehensive as of now. So what you can do here is if you're on Claude, you can just toggle on research and you have to experiment around with this. I don't know if this is available in the free version, possible. If this is not available in the free version, grok.com is a really good counterpart if you want it for free. So for here you can just do it for free. Cloud might charge you a little bit of money, like $10 a month, but if you do a lot of research, it makes a lot of sense. If you want to save the money, just do grok.com, and here you can do exactly the same thing. So let's say we want to do some extensive research on a topic. So I'm just going to talk to my laptop and say what I want. Hey, can you do extensive research on the most recent law that is regarding AI and copyright? Make sure to only fetch the most actual and important sources. All right. So here we just got the prompt. I don't know if you still heard me or not, but I just talked to my laptop and implemented the prompt. So can you do extensive research on the most recent law on AI? So if we click research and we send that off, then it will do a in-depth research of that very topic. And the difference between this, where we just ask it a question and said search the web, and this is, it's going to fetch a lot more sources. So now it's asking us some questions just to clarify the scope of the research. So you can say, are you looking from a specific, so yeah, we're looking from the US. We are more interested in AI generated content. And what should we focus on? Let's say everything up to date, 2025, July. All right. So if we send that off, then Claude is going to start a deep research project and is going to fetch literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sources. And it's going to give you a report where you can see the most recent research data. All right. So what can we do now? Once we have all of those sources, what if we found some documents? So let's find some documents. So let's say we do a search the web. This is going to take some time now, so we will check in back later. We can also say search the most, like search documents or search articles. You just have to scope it into what you want. Right now, we're just asking for the last, but if you just specify this prompt into search me documents, search me websites, then it's going to specify this. So the more specific you are on this prompt, the more specific results you get. All right, let's say we want to get some documents. So search the web and find me PDFs on recent AI and copyright laws. So now it's going to give us some PDFs and we can do some really, really cool things with those. All right, so here we go. If you click on it, then it gives us the exact source, which is awesome. Generative artificial intelligence and copyright law. I mean, it's perfect. And what's the difference between Google and this? Well, all of the responses here are going to be just perfect. With Google, you won't get the perfect responses. You're going to have a bunch of links that aren't as relevant. But here, every single link is going to be highly, highly relevant. Okay, so what can we do with this? Obviously, we can take the document, we can download it, and then we can feed it back into ChatGPT just by copy pasting it in here. And we can say, summarize this document and give me the main points in bullet points. Also give me the exact quotes. Why do we want exact quotes? Again, so we can double check in the document if it's actually correct or not. So this is how you can streamline your research process instead of reading through the entire thing. And yes, you still have to read through the entire thing. Don't think that you can outsource everything into AI. You still need to be the subject matter. But if you're doing private personal research and you want to speed it up, then this is a really, really good way. So here's the summary. Here are the key points. So no copyright for work solely created by AI. Prompts alone are insufficient. So you can't copyright any prompts or you can't copyright work just because on prompts. What actually means human contribution. And you always got the exact quote here. So it's just perfectly formatted if you want to get quick answers. So here we go. There's a quote. Now we can go back into the document, search for it, and then we ran into an error. So it didn't find it. Sometimes the issue is because of formatting. So let's just take a smaller chunk of it, then it might work. Okay, it still doesn't. So this is a good way of, there you can see that all of this might not be perfect. Let's say we want to fix that and we really want to make sure that we can find this quote. What you can do is you can just take it and go back in here. I can't find the quote in the doc. Check again for the exact quote and give me perfect formatting just as it is in the doc itself. All right, we're going to give it the document again because context is always better. It's always nice to just refer back. And now we're going to, oh, I forgot to copy paste. Obviously, we have to give it the context about the point, what we are referring to. This is the point we are referring to. You can also edit your prompts. So when I stop this request again, if you missed something in your prompt, you can always just click edit message, and then you can just edit what you already had. All right, so let's see if it gives us a prompt that we can actually find now, or the exact one. All right, so here we go. Let's go back into the doc, search for it. Okay, here we go. So sometimes just tweaking it a little bit helps. Now imagine you would have to find this prompt on your own, or this very section in the paper on your own. That would have taken you a lot of time. So we rather just go to chat, let us do the tedious work for us, and then we just use our critical thinking skills in order to make sure that it's actually correct or not. All right, let's see where Claude is. So Claude has already gathered sources from 403 different websites, and it's writing the report right now. Okay, so what can we do when we have a bunch of different sources and we want to have them all in one place, right? We want to organize our research. Well, we can take those documents. So here's one PDF, but we can also take links. So let's say we have this link. Well, it's going to give us a PDF again. Let's just take this as another PDF. Download that one. It's about copyright protection and generative AI, so exactly what we were looking for. Now, let's say for the website, we're just going to choose one of those websites here. So here's the US office. Maybe one that has a little bit more content. How about the Wikipedia page? That should be a good one. All right, Wikipedia is great. So now we have all of this. Where do we organize this? Well, you used to take a Google Docs and put in all of the links and the PDFs, or you have maybe a Notion or something. There's a better way. If you go into Notebook LM, you can synthesize all of that data and put it into one notebook, and then you can ask questions to that notebook. So you never ever have to like if you don't remember where you found a specific information, you can now just ask your laptop basically where this information is at, but you need to synthesize all of the information into one notebook. So you go to Notebook LM, you click create a new notebook, and now you can upload sources. So we're going to upload our two PDFs. So here's one of them. Now we're going to add the other one. And now we're going to add another source, which is going to be a link. So website. And we just take the Wikipedia link. We copy that in here. You can also take YouTube. So if you go into YouTube and you do copyright in AI, and you find some videos that you liked, let's say this one or this one is 70 minutes. On January, you can just take the link and also put it into a Notebook LM, and it will transcribe it for you and put it in as a document. Obviously, you have to check if those documents are actually good or not, right? I mean, I'm just showing you the process of research. We would have to read through all of this and do a little bit more, but I wanted to show you the entire scope of what's possible. So now what we have is we have all of the information in one place, and now we can just ask questions like in which document does it claim that humans, let's say you want to prove a certain point, but you don't know where exactly you found it. In which document does it claim that AI or that humans need to have significant editing for something to be copyrighted? All right, so if we do that, then it sorts through the entire database that we uploaded, and it's going to give us exactly the documents that are claiming whatever we are asking for. So this is taking sometimes a little bit of time, but there's a lot more you can do with copyrights with Notebook LM. But let's start with this one. So you have, here's the copyrightability, and then it gives you all of those different points where it found it. It even gives you the quotes. And now when you click on that little button here, it tells you where exactly it was found. And then it even highlights where exactly it is mentioned. So let's say it specifies that prompts alone do not suffice sufficient control. You can just click on this, and then it shows you which document, and it shows you exactly where in the document it is. So you don't even need to ask for a quote. It literally references towards it. But look at this now. Now you can make even a mind map. So what if you have all of those documents, but you don't really have a good organization? You can just click mind map, and it's going to generate you an entire mind map based on all of the documents that you fed in here. So this is just beautiful if you have a really big research project and you want some type of oversight. You can generate a mind map like this. You can also do an audio overview. What if you have a bunch of links and you just want to learn about it, but you don't want to, like a bunch of links and resources, but you don't want to read through all of this because you don't have the time? What if you just want to have some type of audio overview, like a podcast of where people are talking to each other? Well, you can do that too. So we are generating the audio, you will see in a second. And here's the mind map. Doesn't look like much, but there's actually links within links. So here's the mind map. Here's a protection generative AI. Here are the different domains that we are looking into. But if you click on this, it actually goes further. So you have all of the different debates. And if you click on it, then it like asks you, so basically creates a discussion. So if you click on something and you don't understand, or you want to do more in-depth research on something within the mind map, you can just click on that very item, and then it sends it automatically into Notebook LM, and you learn everything you need about this very point. All right, so now I'm going to share my audio, and you will see that we generated a podcast. It's might take a little bit more time. Let's actually do a poll question in the meantime. So the second poll is how much you are actually trusting AI for research and for outsourcing. So do you have no trust in AI at all? It's messing up everything, or do you have a pretty decent amount of trust? So yeah, how does it look like?
So we had a little error with the polling. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the link for the polling in the chat, and if you guys can click on that link and give us an answer, that'd be great. Okay, so we've got some high trust, moderate, and low.
Okay, that's perfect. So it also depends on how much you actually do the process that I'm just doing, right? Always referring back to the documents. But if that is working well, then AI is really, I mean, it's working perfectly. But I can also give you an example of where it didn't work. But that's also around 8 months ago. So what happened was I was doing research with AI on what churches are currently doing with AI and what churches are heading that new change and are positioning themselves as thought leaders. And there was one church that AI suggested, a church in Texas, which supposedly was making really broad steps forward when it comes to AI and Christian thought. And what I did is I did a little bit of research. I called them because I wanted to check if it's actually correct or not. And when I called them, they said that they're doing absolutely nothing with AI and that they haven't really seriously thought about it. And that was a good example of AI hallucinating. So just making up some type of information or just imagining information. But that problem is not even closely as much the case now anymore. You still have to validate everything, especially if you want to take ownership of your information. You can't just make a presentation on something you researched on AI, didn't read anything, and then claim you're an expert. That's not going to work. But if you do the steps right, then AI is phenomenal. And in my opinion, I barely use Google anymore. I basically never use Google. And if I use any other website, I use AI in order to get to that website. All right. So the sound sharing function isn't available for me, but we can check if the podcast is like visible for you guys. But basically, what this is going to do now, it's going to generate a podcast where all of that information is synthesized in a really generic or really authentic podcast between two AIs. So I guess it's not that authentic, but they are talking back and forth to each other, asking questions, just like a real podcast style. So they're going to start with, oh, why the AI copyright is such an interesting topic. What have you heard about it? And then the second person is going to answer, and then you get this podcast style. So you just have to listen to it. All right. So we have a third poll. Let's do the third poll in where we want to know what exactly would you guys be interested in having help with, or what is your stepping stone that sometimes is a little bit an obstacle when you have presentations. So Jenny, do you want to post that one, or should we skip it since we have issues with the polling?
We could pull the third one.
Also, one thing I'm just checking, there are a bunch of videos on YouTube. If you would just like to know how this podcast is going to sound like, if you just want to see how good the podcast is, you will see the podcast is extremely good. It's mind-boggling good. So
So,
yeah, so just check it out on YouTube.
okay. All right, let me share my the polling here.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have 50% of using creating visuals, slide design, and structuring the story.
All right, beautiful. So we're going to do all of those now. What a coincidence, right? All right. So check this out. Now we are getting into the really neat things. Now we are creating presentations. Now we are generating images and we're generating outlines and articles and all of that stuff. So the neat thing about using Notebook LM, where all of your data is synthesized, is now you can actually refer back to all of this data whenever you want to create something. So not just when you have questions about it, but also when you want to create something. So for example, what if we want a PowerPoint presentation about this that has 8 slides? So now we can just say, create a PowerPoint or create an overview of a PowerPoint generation. So create an overview of a PowerPoint slide deck consisting 8 slides, focusing on AI and copyright and the most recent updates in law. All right. Imagine now doing, you need to have the knowledge, right? This is only good if you're actually already a domain expert. If you want to learn, that's great too, but you can't just take the information, put it into Notebook LM, create a PowerPoint presentation, and then think you know it. That's not going to work. But what is going to work is if you know the topic and now you can just make a slide deck like this, which is just, you will see, it's beautiful. Now you have the slides, you have a description of what needs to be in the slides, and you have all the context, right? So what you can do now is you can just copy this entire thing, go into gamma.app, and what you can do here is you can just generate a new AI. Gamma.app is if you do a bunch of presentations, then this might be a really, really good way. On the other hand, instead of just generating a PowerPoint presentation for an hour or 2 hours, you can also just spend $10 and just have it generated for you. Then I guess it kind of depends on how much it's worth for you. But what you do here is you generate an account and then you click on create new and then you click create in text and then you just paste in text. And now we just paste in the outline that Notebook LM just gave us for the 8 slides. So now we have that. Now we click generate from notes or outline. And now we're going to say that we want to have 8 cards, but it already adjusted that. And now we have the entire PowerPoint presentation basically done. Here you can also choose a design. So for example, let's do this one. This one looks nice. Here are some other ideas like in what form you want, but usually the presettings is everything is good in here. But if you want to get into the real, like in the nitty gritty of this, then this really works. Here are different art designs and all of that. But the standard works really well. Now we're just going to click generate. And now what AI is going to do is it's going to build us the entire slide deck, but based on the information that we had on Notebook LM. So this is awesome because it just focuses on the main points that we wanted. Here we can obviously also make adjustments, right? If you don't like a certain part, then just copy it, paste it in here and say, make it more about AI and education, or let's say AI and education copyright on slide 7, and then it will update it. And then you can also put it into gamma.app. However, you can also make it yourself a lot easier if you just do the work within gamma.app. So, but let's actually check if it did it correctly. So slide 2 is core copyright concerns and legal debates. In our outline, we had core copyright and legal debates. Slide 3 is copyrightability of AI generated works. All right, so here we go. I mean, it literally perfectly did it. So if you use Notebook LM to make you the outline and adjust it through the chat interface and then put it into gamma.app, you get a perfect presentation. What if you don't like the layout? What if you don't like the information? What if you want it to be different? Well, you can always adjust everything in here, so you can just edit it. What you can also do is you can just click on this little edit with AI, and then you get some short functions. So for example, what if I want this to be visually more appealing? I can literally just click it. And then it's going to generate a visually more appealing slide just by clicking this one button. So let's see what it comes up with. So it gave us 4 different pictures. All of those pictures are instantly AI generated and are perfectly combined. I mean, the images aren't always perfect, but they're really good. I mean, look at this. It fits perfectly into our art design. It fits perfectly into our background. And sure, it doesn't look too professional, but that's only because we chose a kind of playful theme. If we would choose a more elegant or more professional theme, it would look a lot more professional. But what you can also do is you can just go in here and then you can say with your own words, make it look much more professional. This looks too playful. And now it's going to adjust that. All right, I think it did it. It doesn't have any pictures anymore, but it looks professional. We can also go into card styling. And what you can do into card styling is you have a lot more control over how you actually want it to look like in the visualizations. So you can go into oh, there was something where you could, okay, I have to accept it first and then I can do it. So content alignment backdrop. There was some way of where you can visualize the the different like ways of how the data is presented. So for example, here you have this card system, and if you want to change the layout, okay, I got it. Here it is. So what you can do is you can always highlight a certain section. So let's say you want to highlight this section. And now what you can click on is just change the layout. So you click on this one. I don't know how you can click all of those. Oh, here, select layout. So you see that everywhere next to the layout, you can select it. So here we go. And now you can click, if you want to have more control and not just AI doing it, you can click on it. And then you can either click here where you have the different ways. So for example, you can have a staircase, then it makes it like this. Or you can have numbers like stats. Okay, we don't have any numbers. But what you can also do is you can just click on here and then you're going to get all the different smart layouts. And this is now a pretty text heavy visualization, so we don't even want that much text. So if you want less text, then you can always just go into AI and you can say, make it shorter or be more specific, simplify language. So everything that you need is basically in this tool and it's only getting better. All right, so once you like it, you can always just, so now it has less text. What you can do is you can always export it. So you just click on share, then you click on export, then you can export it as a PDF or as a PowerPoint. If you export it as a PowerPoint, you can also, so this is a really neat thing, is if you export it as a PowerPoint presentation and you already made a PowerPoint presentation, or you want to just implement some features or some aspects of it, you can download it as a PowerPoint and then you can copy and paste out only the specific items in your PowerPoint. So I will show you in a sec. Okay, here we go. So now it's going to download the PowerPoint. Here it is. And once we have that, we can just open that up and then copy paste any types of items out of this. All right, so here's the PowerPoint presentation. Let's open it up. Here we go. Let's say some of those items are nice and some of them aren't as nice. Let's say we like this section here. What we can do now is we can just copy paste that out. So now we have full editing. And this is really, really, really cool. All right. So this is about presentations, but now you can also create visuals. Data visuals we are going to do next week. So next week is going to be everything about comparing data, making data visualizations, and which are also going to be used for presentations. But another one is image generation. So what if we actually want to generate an article about this, or we want to have some type of blog post? Obviously, then we have the ethical component on if should we actually have AI generate the entire thing and then just post it without any human input? People have to answer that question for themselves. Personally, I don't think that's a good idea. I think it should be always augmented. Humans should work with AI, not only rely on AI. With PowerPoint presentation, that's different because we don't really claim copyright on that. It doesn't matter. It's just a tool. But with the blog article, I think it's more a form of expressing yourself. And that's the only thing that the other person is going to read from you. So that's an ethical thing. However, you can generate an outline. So for example, you can say with all of that stuff that we have here in Notebook LM, instead of generating an outline for a PowerPoint presentation, we can just say, create an outline for a blog article containing 1,000 words. Make sure, so because I want to show you what you can do if you have a finished blog article, make sure to give enough information so ChatGPT can write the blog post and enough context. All right, so now it's going to give us an outline. And we are going to go back to ChatGPT. And if you have the plus version, then if you want to do anything in writing, so anything copywriting, advertisement, always go into your model section right here. Then go into more models and then go into GPT 4.5 because it's really, really, really good in writing. So what we want to do now is we want to wait for that outline because we have all the information here because Notebook LM is really good in generating this outline with our specific data, but we want it not to generate the article for us. We want only to help us generate an outline and then we can put it into ChatGPT to generate the article. All right, so here we have the outline. Now we can go back to ChatGPT and say, create a 1,000 words article or let's say blog post using this outline and information. And since Notebook LM gave us a really, really solid and detailed outline, it will have all of the information it needs to write. So once we have the article, you should definitely proofread it because you're the one that is responsible for the information that you put out there or that you share. So don't think that this is going to be perfectly correct. It doesn't have to be, but it's going to get you 90% to where you need to be. And obviously, if you feel uncomfortable sharing something that is only AI generated, then you should only go from the outline, or you use AI in order to find maybe some phrasing of sentences, or you find some more specific sources, write it yourself, and then maybe let AI help you to just make it sound a little bit better. Or maybe you don't even need that and you just write it on your own and you only use AI for the research process. However, one thing that you definitely would probably like to consider if you don't want to create your own graphics and visualizations is that you are going to use this article, which we will have in just a second. So it writes an article on navigating the AI and copyright maze. What's the latest legal update means for creators? So here it does an author, copywriting for AI assistant creations. All right, so here we also have the international landscape. And all of this information is just incredibly detailed. It's just insane how much you can create. I mean, we're only working for around 35 minutes on this, and we gathered so much information. If you would just read this article, you would probably have a really, really solid standing. And all of this information is checked. I mean, we haven't checked it too much, but we have checked some of it, and it was correct. All right, so let's say just for the sake of time, let's go with what we already have. Let's just assume this is the entire article. What we can do now is generate an image for it. So we can just say, using this article, generate a perfectly fitting professional image for that using this blog. Using this blog, generate a perfectly fitting professional image for that blog I can use to post with it. All right, now we give it the block. We're going to hit submit. And now it's going to start generating the image. And then we have everything for a potential blog article. So you have a good outline. You have an image you could use. You have the information. Obviously, you need to double check it and all of this. So yeah. All right. So going into the last point before we go into Q&A. All of this stuff is absolutely wonderful. Seriously. The implications are just insane. And imagine your personal research now. So instead of with Claude, I know I'm jumping a little bit, but there's just so much to talk about. Now we have our research report here, right? So it generated it for a long, long time. It's used over 400 sources. Well, now think out of the box. Instead of doing this for your professional career or for your academic research, you can do this for your private research. How about you want ChatGPT to make research on what is the cheapest car available around you, or what is the cheapest flight, or what is the best flight for those times. All of this can be now done with AI and can be all completely streamlined. It gives you all the sources. So for example, if I do a new chat and I type in agent, which is a new agent mode, I can say, search the cheapest cars in La Mirada around Biola. And then what it's going to do is it's going to do the entire research process for me and gives me all of the links. So it basically automates research. And yeah, so super, super, super helpful. I use it for basically everything regards to research. Here we're actually having now agents, so you can see how AI is doing the research process. So it will tell you where to find those, where it finds those cars. It shows you what websites it scrapes. Right now it's on some type of Carfax. So it's going to do the entire thing on your own. You can do it with flights, with everything, houses, real estate. If you need something for your child, anything, right? All right. So all of this is wonderful. However, you always have to make sure you are the expert. AI is just a helping tool. What that means is you're responsible for any information you put out there. If you don't research it thoroughly, AI will do a great chunk of it, but it's not always perfect. And you have to make sure to make it perfect. However, if you're already 90% done with the research project and the only thing you have to do is check out if it's correct or not, well, that is going to save you a lot of time. That's going to save you hours, if not weeks. So another one is validate. So we talked about this. Because you're the expert, you have to validate. And I talked about the church story. AI hallucination isn't as common anymore, but it still happens. And then human values. Don't always just ask the question, can AI do this? Yes, it can do most of it. But should AI do this? Should I post this article? Should I post this blog post without having put any input in there and then claiming it is my work? No, I shouldn't. At least I think so. Um, but can I put this out to show what AI can do? Can I use it as an outline? Can I augment my work? Yes, I probably can. But this is, for me, a God-given thing. So everyone has to figure that out on their own. But always ask the question, should I do this with AI? And most of the times, it's a good one, but sometimes it's a little bit tricky. So yeah, let's check for the last one if we got an image that it generated for us for the article, and then we're going to go into the question and answer. So yeah, here we go. Here's our image that we can use. I think it's pretty cool. If you want to make any changes, then you can always just ask it in the chat, like make the letters all black, for example. So yeah. All right, let's jump into Q&A.